We are here today in our first ever office hour session with our team. Thank you for joining us. My name is Zacharias and I'm the content marketing specialist at Minuttia, and I will be the moderator for today's session. Here are a few things I would like you to keep in mind. The first is that we want this office hour session to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to introduce yourself and let us know from where you're watching us from. Also, we want you to get the most out of this session, so feel free to ask questions. We will answer questions during the event and in the end in the Q&A session. And you don't need to take any screenshots or notes. There will be an email with a recording and anything we share throughout the event. So relax and enjoy the session. Hello, guys. How are you? Just a quick introduction for each of you. I'm glad to be joined by Sofia Fernandes. Sofia is our Director of Operations at Minuttia. And Antonis Dimitriou is our SEO lead. And Nikola, I believe that I will kill your surname, so I'm sorry, is our content lead at Minuttia. And as you can see, we bring a diverse skill set, so we can discuss many things around all things content, SEO, and operations about the content program. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat on LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you are watching us from. So let's get started. Sofia, I would like to start with you. Since you are interacting with our clients quite regularly, what are the biggest changes and challenges they are facing at this moment?
Hello, Zach. Hello, everyone. So that's a good question. On my experience, I'd say the biggest changes and challenges our partners are facing can be grouped in several key areas. So we have the algorithm updates and trends. This is the major one. Let's say this way, let's put it this way. Google is always tweaking its algorithms, and this makes it tough to keep the rankings steady. So we have to have a very consistent and clear strategy to tackle this challenge. Also, we have a big focus on user experience with things like site speed and overall user experience being crucial for rankings. We also have, since more businesses are present in the digital space, we have a bigger content overload because everyone is pushing content. So we need to have a bigger focus on content quality and also strategy. And of course, we have other key factors like technical SEO, analytics, um, and so on and so forth, which I believe my colleagues are have a better expertise and understanding on this. But overall, I'd say that our partners are facing a very dynamic and complex digital landscape, and staying ahead of these new trends and changes requires continuous learning and adaptability. And that's why our partners trust us to help them navigate this ever changing landscape. And these are my 2 cents on this first question. I hope it was clear, and if not, feel free to expand on the question. Yeah.
Actually, Adonis will share some of his thoughts about all these changes and all of these things happening. The all all these things that our clients are aware of, and how do you see this evolving landscape and the SEO during all these changes?
Well, yeah. Well, to be honest, it's part of the game. I think that sooner or later we would have to adapt because not only the presence of AI kind of makes things move faster, but people are searching differently. And of course, yeah, Google kind of is stricter right now. There were many changes how company SEO strategies were structured kind of change. So I believe that we have many things to see moving forward, but at the end of the day, as long as we kind of stick to good fundamentals and we have a plan, like for example, create a strategy of what we want to achieve, I think that things will be okay. After all, these are all part of the buyer circle, so things will change, but as long as you stick to strategies and good fundamentals, you will be fine. That's my opinion, though.
So, Nicola, from a content perspective, as Adonis shared, most of the content strategies heavily rely on SEO. Instead of content for a search audience, mainly SEO content, as we say it at Minuttia, what are other types of content should companies focus on? What are your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, first off, hi to everyone, and thank you for joining us and giving us your attention and time, which is, of course, very limited these days. As for your question, I think we call it content for search audience or SEO content, but in some ways, all content is content for a search audience. So I don't see that the content marketing industry will just stop relying on SEO. We do need to know what people are searching and why they're searching for it. So SEO is here to stay. And as for the types of content, what I see is that the types of content that the industry did rely on heavily in the last 5 or 6 or 7 years can now most likely be produced very easily with ChatGPT and with generative AI. So to stand out and to give the audience something new, something that would make them want to read it and would make them want to interact with your brand or your company in any way, is to push for more original content, whether that's content that answers certain pain points that your audience has, what your audience is interested in, original content with an original point of view. That will be the differentiating factor between companies that will have a successful presence and just those that will push out AI generated content that most likely very soon people will simply stop reading.
That's great. So, Adoni, at this point that we are at a phase that everyone is scared about AI overviews that Google rolled out this month. And could you give us a short synopsis about AI overviews and what are the best and worst case scenario?
Well, to be honest, I'm still very bullish on organic search, despite AI overviews being rolling out. Well, to be honest, I believe that the best case scenario, which is something I talked about a lot, is basically having more of having more valuable clicks. I mean, if a user has to kind of skip the overview, skip through the noise on the SERP and kind of land on a blue link, that means that this click may be more valuable than just a user that could just click on the result, read some content, then bounce back. So I believe that we must begin to think about click value instead of click volume. And to be honest, I believe that SEO is going towards a more well. This also depends on the kind of the website. I mean, we do mainly client work, which means we do SEO and content for SaaS companies and companies who offer services. But there are some websites that make money through through ads, which they need volume. But when it comes to how we do SEO for the clients, we must begin to think more like to adopt a click value mindset instead of a click volume one, because at the end of the day, you want to attract valuable users and kind of convert those users or retarget them or turn those users into leads. So I think that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is to kind of see organic search become kind of weaker and more niche. Like I think that still companies will need to invest in organic search, because it kind of closes, like it's a piece on the online marketing puzzle. But yeah, the worst case scenario, it will be more niche, like fewer companies will invest because it may be harder to rank or create quality content. But yeah, I'm very bullish overall, and I think that maybe we'll see better results because of more valuable clicks.
By the way, the search engines are quite saturated at this point, so it's difficult either way. But do
Yeah.
you see a drop when it comes to the traffic that more websites will have?
Yeah, I think traffic will drop, but at the end of the day, this traffic it may be for more, top of the funnel queries, or more, informational type queries that I don't know how, at the end of the day, how valuable they were when it comes to the bottom line. But there's also another scenario, since AI overviews will also create citations for websites that are not on the first, the first page. And for more complex queries, maybe we'll start seeing traffic for information we provide on the page that we wouldn't without the overviews. And maybe some websites will start see clicks that they wouldn't before the AI overviews, because they wouldn't rank on the top results. So it's kind of tricky. I think we will lose some clicks, but I think we'll see interesting things because of how the citations work and the snippets work. So yeah.
Also, I know that you have started working on a report, an audit about AI overviews. Could you share a few things about that and how it works and how it will help our clients or potential clients?
Yeah, so maybe, okay, yeah. So we start tracking the performance of specific, pages and queries when it comes to AI overviews. We basically track those, like, okay, we have those queries. Do we have a citation for these queries if those queries trigger an overview? And the goal is to basically be able to hunt those possible citations and claim them. Basically, how we are doing what we're doing for feature snippets at that point. And yeah, the goal is basically to create a framework, a more holistic framework that will be part of this AI overview audit or AI overview tracking. And this has to do with how we kind of answer specific and provide specific information. So kind of adapt the way content is produced in a better format to be tied to the overviews. That's the goal.
I see. So there are opportunities even with AI overviews.
Yeah.
So, Nikola, on a different aspect, what do you think the role of AI is or will be in all of that?
When you say all of that, do you mean AI overviews and?
Or mainly, let's focus on content creation. If we see content marketing as a whole, what are your thoughts on AI and how it will affect or is affecting at this moment the content marketing?
Well, AI is obviously affecting and has affected content marketing for at least a year now, or a bit longer. people are using it in all sorts of ways, from just helping out to generating entire articles with AI. So there are a lot of different approaches here and strategies, I guess, in how you want to use AI. You can use it for research. You can use it for ideas. There's a lot of ways to do it. Of course, at Minuttia, we took this approach and strategy that we want to focus on human-generated content. So we believe, and I believe, that there is a strength to human writing that AI simply doesn't have right now. I believe a big, possibly say, danger in AI is not that AI content is bad, but that it looks good at first glance, and then, or at least looks convincing enough. And then when you read it more thoroughly, you start to notice that it's superficial, or even in some cases errors. We all know those famous errors that were shared, that got viral, like the Microsoft News website recommending that people visit a food bank on their trip to Montreal, and stuff like that. So the role of AI, I don't think it's decided yet in content marketing. I think there are a lot of people trying to use it in different ways and trying to see what works and what doesn't. It's only been around a year, so I think that for a more clear conclusion, we are going to have to wait a little bit.
Thanks, Nikola. Sofia, based on all these changes and all these fears that our clients are facing, what are the best practices for communicating with them in order to ensure that we are transparent and at the same time that we build trust with them?
I'm
Because
sorry,
because we
I
didn't say
lost
that
you.
earlier, but you are at a client-facing role and you are already speaking with our clients. So with all these changes, what are the best practices that we are using at this point to communicate all these things with our clients to maintain their trust and also being transparent?
So at Minuttia, we always try to aim at creating an environment of transparency and trust with our partners. And we are very consistent and proactive in the way we approach communication. We adopted some best practices that I think are like universal across all industries. But to give you some examples and to share some examples here with everyone, so we have regular structured meetings where we share all kinds of updates, changes, new strategies, solutions, and so on and so forth. We are also very clear and we adopt a very honest communication. So we don't promise the world. I think we under promise, we believe more in under promising and over delivering than to promise amazing results and then not achieving. Not that those don't happen, those happen happily, but we believe in setting realistic expectations overall. We also always explain why we believe certain solutions or recommendations are the best approach for each client. So we take a very personal, personalized and tailored solution focused approach for each client. And we also like to be advisors of our partners. So we really believe that to provide the best services and achieve the best results, we have to not be just doers or makers of creating content and so on, but also have a more encompassing strategy and overview over the project, and w- being able to provide our expertise for each recommendation we share. And overall, we believe in building collaborative partnerships with our clients. So it's not a it's a more holistic approach. Let's put it this way. Yeah. And yeah, we like to focus on building a strong base trust relationship with our partners and ensure they feel valued, they're on the loop, and they feel confident in how our ability to navigate this evolving landscape of growth marketing. And I'm a big believer in this approach we take here at Minuttia. I hope these small best practices I've shared can be useful for our audience. Yeah, and that's my take on it. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Sofia. Thank you. So let's take a hypothetical scenario, Antoni. Um, you are helping at this point our clients with their content strategy. So let's say that I'm a client and I come to you and say, all these changes in search scare me off. What should we do with our content strategy? What would you advise me to do at this point?
Well, to be honest, I think that having a strategy, I don't think those changes would like push companies or SEOs change the strategies. I mean, after all, the strategies how you want to get to point B from point A, or how you can like create specific specific frameworks or reach to specific results based on where the company is right now. What I would say is that the best thing to do is kind of be patient, because nobody really knows what the end impact would be. But as I said, as long as you have a solid strategy starting on, I don't think that there's no reason to panic. I mean, changes happen all the time in search. If you if you see like try to uncover all the changes in the last like 5 years, there will be like hundreds of those changes. But companies are thriving through SEO and organic search. So I don't really see a need to kind of do something different. The best thing is to kind of track and try to understand how companies or SEOs can kind of leverage those changes. For example, as I said, as we started to kind of tracking overviews performance for specific queries, we could also like better understand the patterns, and we will also try to claim those citations. So the best thing is to try to understand what are the changes, and kind of try to adapt to them, not kind panic and try to shift the whole strategy. If you have to shift your whole strategy, I think the strategy maybe it's you hadn't the right strategy to start with. I know.
And since we touched the content strategies, what would you think are the best practices when it comes to content strategies? Because as mentioned earlier, there are a lot of companies that focusing a lot only on SEO aspect of things, not on creating product focused, as we mentioned, as we say, content or original content or any other things. What are your thoughts on that? How would you advise someone when it comes to their content strategy? What are they? things that they need to adjust to see better results, or to actually create a better content strategy? I don't know, starting from objectives and anything.
Okay. Well, as I mainly design strategies with a an SEO scope, I still believe that there's huge value in going beyond organic search. And the key thing here is you have to kind of understand what are your capabilities and what goals you want to achieve. For example, if at the current stage you wanna like create more awareness, there's no need to just stick on organic search. After all those pieces, like we create for an SEO scope, they can be repurposed to other formats. And right now that users are more like they're using various mediums or channels to get information, to buy things, to learn things. You can easily have a more multi-channel approach. Like for example, you can take an article and repurpose it into 5 social media posts, create repurpose it into a couple of infographics, even make a video on the same topic. So I would say that there's no need to limit strategy just on organic search. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Danny. So now over to you, Nikola. Recently, we published a blog about Minuttia's AI policy, and for those who don't know, we don't use generative AI for content creation. And I wanted to ask you, how do we protect ourselves and our clients from AI content?
Right. Well, you're right, Zach. We don't use generative AI for content creation. At Minuttia, we don't use it really at all. So the word protect, I think, is a good word here. We do need to protect ourselves from AI content. That's something that I personally believe, since it's really just plagiarism on a massive scale and doesn't really provide any new insights or new ideas. But when it comes to this, the way we protect ourselves is by using AI detection tools, by understanding how AI detection tools work. And those who are interested can read the blog post on our website, because it goes into a lot of detail on how AI detection works and how the results should be interpreted properly. So when we have that, that's how we protect ourselves. We have set standards on what we find, based on our understanding of how all this works, on what we find to be acceptable probabilities, and we apply that on a team level as well as on a per article level. And by doing this, we can be reasonably safe. I would say we can be maybe 90+% safe that the content we are putting out is not AI generated. Of course, a part of this depends on trust, and I would say, as a general suggestion, even if you're a freelance writer or you're an agency, the best way is to have your clients trust you, which means that you are producing the kind of high quality content that is original, that gives new ideas and new insights, and then nobody will even wonder if it was AI generated, because it's going to be immediately clear that it's not. So that should really be the standard that everyone should be striving for, and that definitely we are striving for.
Also, can you see specific niches, for example, healthcare companies or even public companies use AI content even in the future? Because I mean, these companies take quite seriously their reputation, and they can't say things that aren't proved or qualified. And I mean, there may be some industries that AI content could do the work, but I'm not sure about every industry and company. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Right, that's very true, and that's a good that's a good observation. Like if you're selling medicine, and clearly you're held to a higher standard when it comes to correctness than, let's say, if you're selling skin creams, which is like no insult to the beauty industry. The beauty industry is important, but in general, yes, I'm not aware that such companies have been using AI content. If they have, then maybe it all worked out in the end, because we would definitely hear about any notable incidents, like the recent incident with Google's AI overview, which suggested that people should eat glue with pizza. Um, so yes, it's a very good observation that in some cases and in some industries, you really can't afford to just have an automated system of AIs just writing and putting out content, because occasionally, as they call it in AI, they do hallucinate, and you might end up with incorrect info, which in some industries can actually end up hurting someone.
That's great. Thank you, Nicola. So now back to you, Adoni. And at Minuttia, we've mentioned a lot about the old content marketing playbook and the new content marketing playbook. So I'm interested in hearing from you. What are the characteristics of a new content marketing playbook?
Well, I think the key principles here are basically, I would not say more, data driven. I would say more focused on specific objectives, because as we see right now, many organizations kind of want to understand how content marketing basically is tied to the bottom line, or how each action can actually create impact. So I would say that the most important thing is to actually tie the content efforts with the results, not like you're gonna see immediate results, because at the end of the day, as I see it, content marketing is more of a brand marketing, not like performance based marketing. But yeah, I think tying these two objectives, at least your strategy, and trying to differentiate will be key, because at the end of the day, uh, everyone can consume content from everywhere right now. I mean, you can just log into your mobile on social media or YouTube, or you just basically consume content. Even AI is content. I mean, the outputs are basically text based content. So what you have to do is basically find your unique positioning, and how you want to create, visualize the whole brand image, and try to convert those through the content efforts.
That's some good points, Adoni. So, Sophia, I'm interested in hearing from you some innovations and things that we are working internally in order to communicate the results of our work to our clients.
Um, That's a good question, Zach. So, the first thing that comes to mind is the impact reports that we've been working on for the past few months and tuning them, and we are rolling them out, which basically is our tailored reports for each one of our clients and that are designed to provide crystal clear view of how the project is going, how the metrics are behaving, so we don't have to do any guesswork and we can see precisely and communicate it very easily to our clients where we started, where we are now, and where we are heading. We can keep track of metrics like conversions, impressions, geographic data. And besides having this easy view or overview of how the pages are ranking, what keywords are uh, performing better, we can also have a better informed future strategy through these reports. And I think these are very game changing for us and for our partnerships because we can be much more well informed and be more confident where we should double down our efforts in the future. Yeah. Thank you,
Actually,
Zach.
I believe that this tool solves a big problem for our clients, which is that most of the times our point of contacts are just a head of a department of their company who needs to report again to C-level or executives or other team members. So it makes their life also easier when it comes
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
explaining the results of our work and what it brings into the table and how it affects actually the company. Because it's easy to say that, okay, we saw a report at, let's say, a keyword tool like Ahrefs, and we saw that the traffic increased for an X number or the keywords increased as well, but it doesn't mean that they can see the impact of the content. So this is what we try to bring to the table and create. And I believe that this template is also a game changer when it comes to communicating our results. And thanks for bringing this to the table, Sofia.
Yeah, we're welcome.
Um,
And I absolutely agree with you. So, yeah.
Also, something to Nikola, and since we discussed a lot about AI content, let's say that we want to write something to resonate with people on a personal level. What are the tips or the things that you will consider to make something to resonate with the audience? How would you approach a piece like that? You can also mention the content briefing and anything else that will help you.
Well, if you want something to resonate in any way with the audience, you need to be able to write it from a place of authenticity, provided, of course, that you know what the audience is interested in, and that you've covered this in previous steps with your content marketing strategy and research. So you need to write it from an authentic place, and there are different ways to do that, depending on what your content is based on. You can even do it in a tool review if you're making a listicle with tool reviews. You can still have it resonate by actually having your writer test all of that out and give their honest and real opinion. But more things you can do include actually finding relevant subject matter experts, finding people with relevant experience, whether they are users or people from the industry with some kind of a relevant story to share. There are platforms for this. There are, of course, also professional, networking where you can sort of reach out to your following or your network. But the main thing is that if you want something to resonate with the audience, it has to come from some authenticity and real experience. If you are simply summing up things you've read in other sources, then there's no way for something like that to be resonant, whether emotionally or psychologically or philosophically, because those are not your original and authentic ideas, or the original and authentic ideas of any people, if you're quoting other people. So the way I would approach it would be to think from that perspective. How can either we write this authentically? What resources do we have? Or if we don't, then what sort of subject matter expert or source or collaborator can we have that is deeply relevant to this subject?
That's great, Nikola. And also, if I'm not mistaken, we've started working quite a lot using quotes on our pieces and a lot of extra resources in order to showcase this experience and add this credibility to our work. And I'm interested to hear some things about that if you have to say or add anything
Yeah.
extra.
Sure. So one thing that we have started using quite extensively is platforms such as Quoted and Help a B2B Writer Out. So these platforms are places where writers can connect to various subject matter experts and then speak with these experts or interview them for quotes and contributions that can be used in the final article. And this is great, and by the way, free. So this is a great and free way to add a lot more authenticity, a lot more authority to what you're writing. Of course, sometimes a great thing is that by talking to one of these subject matter experts, you can actually uncover new potential angles that can differentiate the content. For instance, the person you're speaking to could mention, some aspects of the subject or the issue that you haven't thought about, and then you can research it further and add more if it's interesting. So it's definitely something that I would recommend to everyone. I mean, not just in content marketing, journalists do this as well. It's a great way to add real experience to what you're writing.
Now back to you, Adoni, and I'm interested to know what metrics do you consider most critical when evaluating the success of an SEO or content program, and why?
Well, it depends on the the stage of the company and the goals. Let's say for more early stage, like companies or companies who haven't like invested in SEO or content before, I would say that just tracking organic search traffic, non-branded organic search traffic, and of course conversions. You track conversions for every company is the most important. As you start tracking results for more established brands or more companies who are already on have already started investing in SEO, you can see other things, like for example you have to focus on more specific metrics, like for example, since we are doing SEO for SaaS, you can see like, signups, trials, of course, assisted conversions from existing content pieces to draw a conclusion of like, okay, what we can do for these pieces, since they are assisting in converting users. And of course, I would say that at the end of the day, you have to kind of try to understand what's more important for the company at that stage. I mean, if you are already an established brand that almost everyone in the industry knows, organic traffic may not be so important. Like, you have to focus on the money makers, the pages that will actually help the company grow.
Great answer, Adon. And I also believe that something that most of the times is missing when it comes to this kind of discussions is the company stage and where it is at this point, and also the budget, objectives, and so many things, because all these things can affect the metrics and the focus and where you should invest on and how
Yeah.
your program should be. So that's a great answer. Also, just a short message to our viewers as we're quickly approaching the end of our design time for this session. I want to kindly remind everyone to be mindful of the remaining questions or comments so that we can address as many as possible before we wrap up. And one more question about Sofia, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about the future of our work and content marketing, and how do you see it evolving in the future?
Thank you, Zacharias. I think the way we have to think about it is not just think about separate boxes like SEO, social media, ads, this and that, We have to think of a more holistic approach which encompasses all channels. And so each brand has its own identity and clear strategy and vision, So what are the goals? What are the means? What's the identity? What's our audience? And all channels will work in not in a similar way because each one has its own specifics, but they're all aligned and they all communicate the same, And I think that's the future, not just focusing on small steps, but on the bigger picture. Yeah.
Totally agree with you, Sofia. And what are your thoughts on that, Nikola? What about the future of content marketing?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is that content marketing has a future, and I think that needs to be stressed, like 100%, because I've heard a lot of, there has been some talk about will AI, end the content marketing industry, and I don't think that's going to happen at all. But as for the future of it, as I've been mentioning, and as we've been writing on our blog, the future of content marketing is to try to produce the best content you can, regardless of what's happening with AIs. Companies that are going to stand out, that are going to be seen as authoritative in their industries and niches, are those companies that are going to offer content, whether that's content on their blog or their social media or their newsletters. It's going to be content that gives the audience something useful, something new, something original and authentic. Of course, optimized for search engines and optimized for whatever search engines might look like in a year from now. Google might move fully to some kind of AI results. You never know, but those AI overviews are still going to try to pull from primary sources. And here in this question, here it's your blog that's a primary source. So if you are giving that kind of content that people want to read, that people find useful, that makes people want to get in touch with you and see how you can solve their issues if you're a B2B company, then I think basically it will all work out. What I think definitely is not the future of content marketing is pumping out large volumes of AI generated text. I don't see how that's going to work, and you have to keep in mind that audiences are going to get better at recognizing this, at recognizing when someone has pushed out a lot of generated text, like how people are, there's research on this, but people are getting better at spotting like promotional content versus non-promotional content. So the same will probably happen here slowly over time. So to just sum it up in one sentence, I believe that the future of content marketing is authentic, authoritative content written by real human beings.
At this point, you sound like Google. I believe like the recent algorithm update. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about content marketers upskilling, because as we discussed in this conversation, it seems that most formats are in the play. For example, as you mentioned, newsletters, video that we didn't discuss a lot, podcasts maybe, and there are a lot of other content formats out there that content marketers and companies should start experimenting with. But I believe that there is a gap when it comes to the skill set from a traditional content writer or content marketer to something more diverse. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a really important observation. Most content marketers and content writers will have to upskill. And if you are a content marketer or a content writer, you should begin doing that immediately, because working on podcasts, working on industry reports, product-led content, original content, soliciting, getting in touch with subject matter experts, knowing how to interview them, knowing how to get interesting and useful ideas and content out of them. So all of these are skills. All of these are like, they're somewhat connected, but all of these are new skills that for the longest time weren't really asked of content marketers or content writers. There was a time when being a content writer simply meant, here's a brief, I'm filling out the words, I'm Googling about it, I'm seeing what others are saying, and I'm filling it out until I hit 1,500 or 2,000 words, and now I've put in the links, and now I'm done. So for years, content writers could just go ahead with that, and it was okay. Now that's not the situation anymore, and everyone needs to upskill, not just content writers, content marketers, when they think about their strategy, when they think about the kinds of content they want to pursue, and how to measure the impact of these different types of content, but also the SEO part of it all, from learning how to create briefs for all these different types of articles, to also figuring out how to which and how to track the KPIs that they need to track. So essentially, the entire industry needs to start picking up new skills and start picking them up pretty fast, actually.
That's a great point, Nikola, and I totally agree with you. So, as the time is close, I want to ask Adonis for a closing message. What would you say to the SEO professionals who are hearing this session, and what are your thoughts about the future of SEO?
Well, the future of SEO would basically need the whole podcast episode just for just for this. Well, I'm personally very bullish on organic search and SEO, not because I'm an SEO professional myself, but because I see that things will change, but they will not die, as many people say. So a piece of advice would be to kind of forget what how SEO content was approached and how SEO strategies were approached and kind of think more of a information focused SEO compared to keyword focused SEO, which I believe it's very outdated and boring. Things, in my opinion, will move into information based search. The overviews will draw snippets from specific passages for more complex queries. So it means that we have to think beyond keywords and just try to add, information. And this is kind of connected to what Nicola said previously, that human writers will always be needed. And this is because at the end of the day, AI just kind of, predicts the next tokens and kind of recycles information. But right now, as we see, Google wants to kind of feed the knowledge graph, as I can say, not just recycle the knowledge graph. So we'll need people who contribute with new information, like as we call it in SEO, information gain. So the future is authoritative content for sure, and just let's stay away from keyword focused SEO, which kind of sucks.
So that's a wrap. Thank you all for attending today's event. And just a quick note for our listeners, subscribe to our email newsletter for the latest news and insights. Also, you can check Growth Waves at growthwaves.com, which is a newsletter from our founder, George Cassiotis, and he's sharing B2B growth, unconventional stories and insights and strategies from the best B2B companies out there. Also, I want to thank you all for being so generous with your time today, and stay tuned. Bye, everyone.